This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. The following program is recorded live and intended for all audiences.
Radio is scripted now. We just come up with it. We don't use computers. We don't rehearse. We're going to talk about this next. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about the Bulls. And then we're going to have Brad Bigson. And then we're going to have all this. No. If you don't know what you're going to talk about in the top of your head before a show, you shouldn't be in the business. I don't know what you got. I feel like Vince Vaughn in a couple's retreat. The Sharks are circling. Old school, baby.
You're listening to the Mike North Advantage, and it begins right now.
That's right. The Mike North Advantage starts right now. I am Aldo Gandia, Mike's wingman, and I've got to tell you tonight on Bears Barroom Radio Network, another historic night. We have a legend in the house, and I'm not just talking about Mike North. I am talking about another legend. Ken Hawk Harrelson joins Mike in just a few seconds. After their conversation, Mike and I will talk about all the latest NFL news. So let me introduce to you now, Mike North. How are you, my friend?
I'm jacked up. I'm ready to go, Aldo. Good to talk to you. Good to talk to everybody at the bar room. And this guy's been a friend since 1992. I listened to him. I watched him play. I used to get excited when I got him in baseball cards back in 1967, 68. The trouble with him is he kept changing teams every 2 damn years. I couldn't keep up with him, for God's sake. And then he went in to become a Hall of Fame broadcaster, a general manager. I've never told him this. He was one of, when I was doing the radio with the score with Dan Jiggets, he was a top 5 guest of ours. He was automatic. I called him Mr. Automatic. I never told him that because he had a big enough head as it was. Jeremy Roenick, Elton Brand, Chris Zorch, Stacey King were the other 4 guests that we loved having on the show. And this guy is number one. He's a Cadillac when it comes to announcing, when it comes to knowledge of baseball. And now I could finally let my guard down and tell him I love him because he's done. He's out of the business. Well, he'll be back. I think he's probably going to sign with somebody else for another 5 years. It is Ken Hawk Harrelson. What's up, Hawk?
What's up, Mikey? Good to talk to you, buddy.
It's good to talk to you. Sorry about the mix-up with the clock, but you know what? I'm glad you decided to stay because you know what? All the years that we talked for years about every White Sox player, everybody in baseball. Had so much fun doing it. But I never really got a chance to know you. I really didn't. I mean, Chicago knows of you as a baseball player, but majorly as an announcer. And I was at Bolingbrook Golf Club, one of your favorites, one time, and I talked to Mike Schmidt for about 20 minutes on the air, and we didn't do any baseball. We just talked about him, and it was crazy. And then I looked you up today, and I mean, there's stuff about you that, I mean, your upbringing alone. I came from a pretty rough household, but you came from, if I'm not mistaken, a split home, and ended up going to military school in high school, right?
Yeah. The 2 things that saved me as a youngster coming up was, first of all, my mama. She was, I was a mama's boy, and always was till she passed away, and I always will be till the day I die because of the fact she was just such a wonderful mother. And then the other thing that saved me was the military school because we came from a rough area, Mikey. I mean, it was the roughest area in Savannah, Georgia. And it was one of those things where after a while you just got used to fighting. You know, that was part of the culture. That was part of the life coming up. And, of course, when you get to military school, there's 3 things they teach you in military school. The first thing is that you don't care how big they are. And within reason, you don't care how many there are. And the third thing is somebody's going to get knocked out because you're not going to quit.
Well, you know what? I grew up in a rough part of Chicago, and I thought and it was a mixed neighborhood, and I thought that I got a lot of my acumen from just different interactions with different people. And usually that's what rough neighborhoods bring you. You were in Savannah, and that's where Benedictine Military School was. There's no doubt that they helped you with your discipline down the line. But growing up in the poor side of town, as Johnny Rivers once sang, how advantageous was that for you down the line when it came to somebody trying to intimidate you? Because you know what? It's hard to intimidate me, and I know it's hard to intimidate you, and I think a lot of it has to do with background.
Well, that's what life's about. Is really is being a competitor. You know. Well, besides that, the two things life is really is family and memories. Those are the two things, and of course, inside the memory category is being a competitor, and that's why growing up where I did, like in Woodruff, South Carolina, when I was a kid before we moved to Savannah, we grew up in a black neighborhood, and I'll tell you, those were my buddies. Those were the guys that I played basketball with, I played football with, I played baseball with, and then if I was over there at lunchtime, you know, I'd go in and have lunch. Their mom would invite me in, and if they were over at our place, my mom would invite them in. So, you know, it gave you a good sense of diversity at a very young age.
You know, Hawk, when you talk about your career, people think that, you know, you played a lot of years. You only played 9 years. And when I say only, there was guys that played 18, 20 back then in those days. They hung on for dear life. They had to rip the uniform off you. You ended up getting hurt, but you were an all-star. What was the difference? I really equate your performance, your all-star performance with Boston. And I know we've heard the Yastrzemski stories, but I just think the change of organization, peace of mind, baseball's a mental game. You always had the swing. It's just you didn't have the other thing, which was maybe good ball players around you, not taking anything away from the guys you played with in the past or with Cleveland and Kansas City. But Boston was a different group, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, we had Yastrzemski, and Yastrzemski to this day is the best clutch hitter I've ever seen. He's the best left fielder I've ever seen. And Al Kaline, a couple of years ago, and I were talking when we were in Detroit, and Al always came to the booth to say hello. And Al was one of my idols growing up because he was such a great competitor. And Jimmy Price was one of the Tiger announcers, and he mentioned that the toughest 3, 4, and 5 hitters that they had to face, the Tigers, were Yastrzemski, myself, and Rico Petrocelli. And all of a sudden Al says, there's no question about it, Yaz was the greatest player I ever played against. And that was something coming from a Hall of Famer in Al Kaline. But, you know, what happens is that's the reason that a lot of people don't have a real perspective. You know, I'm not taking anything away from Bad Henry Aaron, who was, you know, great hitter. But Henry always hit in great ballparks. You know, he hit in County Stadium in Milwaukee, then went to Atlanta and hit in that ballpark. With Atlanta, a lot of people don't realize Atlanta is the second highest elevation outside of Denver in Major League Baseball.
They called it the launching pad.
Huh?
They called it the launching pad.
Milwaukee was a bandbox.
Yeah,
bandbox, you know. And you get guys like Frank Howard, who, when I was with Washington for a short time, he was my roommate. And the year I led the major leagues in RBIs, Willie McCovey led the National League, I led the American League. And Frank Howard finished second to me. And this is one of the great things about baseball. That's why it's the most beautiful game going, is where you play and who you play with. Now, that was the year of the pitcher in 1968 when I was the player of the year and led the major leagues in RBIs, and I had 109. Willie McCovey led the night with 106. And Frank Howard was second in the American League with 105. And here's the difference. If he had been playing with the club that I played with, that I led the major leagues in RBIs with, instead of 109, he may have had 140.
Sure.
I had Yastrzemski hitting behind me. I had Rico Petrocelli hitting behind me. I was hitting behind Yaz, you know, so that was a pretty formidable 3-4-5. Well, Yaz, Hondo had Eddie Brinkman and two guys hitting under 200 hitting in front of him, and he still drove 105.
Eddie Brinkman, I used to hate to get him in Stratomatic. My God, I go, wow. Him and guys like Ray Euler. And I really like liked Mark Belanger because he was a shortstop that would hit you 190, but he never dropped anything. He never dropped a ball in his life. You could watch him. Even, I mean, he had plenty of firepower, Brooks Robinson and Frank Robinson. But I get where you're coming from. You got with a good lineup. You got with some good players. It upped your performance. It upped everybody else's performance, made you better. I got to ask you about once you decided to go on the golf tour. Did you really? I mean, I know the competitor in you. You'd play against anybody, and you'd probably do some hustling and stuff like that, make some money. But what were?
Hey, Mike,
what was
let me
your
interrupt
realism?
you real quick. My first 2 years in the big leagues, okay?
Sure.
The minimum salary was $6,000.
Wow.
Ouch.
I made more money
Ouch.
my first 2 years in the big leagues playing golf, shooting pool, and arm wrestling than I did playing Major League Baseball.
Wow.
Ouch, babe. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
you. But you know what it was about? You were good enough, you thought, to go beat those guys when you looked at the lineup. And when you became, I know the guys that were there, Nicholas, Palmer. I mean, you look, I don't care if it was Billy Casper, Weisskopf. I mean, when you got into the PGA, did you say to yourself, Hawk, you're good enough to win a PGA tournament, or were you in it to make the money to come in 10th, 15th, or 20th? Because there's some guys that never win tournaments, but make big money for the rest of their life in the middle of the pack.
Well, what happened to me was the last 2 years I played before I broke my leg and dislocated my ankle. I'd hit 65 home runs and driven in over 200 runs. And if you do that in 2 years in today's marketplace, that'll get you a nice car, a nice home, you know.
Sure.
So what happened was when I broke my leg, during that rehab time, I just completely lost interest in playing baseball because I'd accomplished a lot of things I wanted to do, in baseball. I played in an All-Star game, a World Series, and I decided I wanted to go into golf because I had the talent. Talent was not an issue. But what happened was that, like, I played 40 years with Arnold, and I played a lot of golf with Jack, and these guys, and they didn't understand what a bad temper I had. Because, as I said, growing up in Savannah, Georgia, and then going to military school, you're going to develop a temper, and that will help you in playing football and basketball and in baseball, and it will help you also, when you get in the fights in the ring or on the street. Your temper was good for you. But when you get on a golf course, that temper and golf just don't mix. I mean, it doesn't happen. And that's why I became so frustrated because I knew the talent was there. I didn't know this until not too long ago that I was the only athlete to ever play in a Major League All-Star game, a World Series, and also the British Open. So
nice.
Wow.
You put those things together, and that'll tell you that my mom put a lot of competitiveness in me. And I could do a lot of things, an All-American basketball player and the whole 9 yards, could have gone anywhere I wanted to in football. And finally I signed a scholarship to go to the University of Georgia to be a quarterback. But then when I signed a big bonus contract with Kansas City, that voided that because back in those days you couldn't be a professional athlete and still have a scholarship.
Do you give your dad, besides the fact that, the two of them, your mom and him, conceived you, do you give your dad much credit at all? Because I know you're always reverting for your mother, which is great. And you said you're a mama's boy. Anything that your dad gave you in a positive way, or was it basically a lot of negativity, which is hard to get over for any kid, and I don't care how old you get on, there's still memories that linger, even though you think you forgot about them.
Well, I don't ever call him my father. He didn't do anything. The only thing he gave my mom was a bunch of headaches, and I think it's in my book there, if you saw it, that they got into a big argument when I was a big kid. I was a big, strong kid, too, and they got into an argument when I was 10 or 11 years old, and my mom found he was cheating on her in that big argument, and my mom always had a pistol in her purse. And she went to get her pistol. She came back. She was going to kill him, Mike. I mean, there's no question about that. She was going to shoot him. So when he saw the pistol, he grabbed her arm and shoved it up. And when he did, the gun went off and went into the ceiling. And when that happened, I hit him as hard as I could hit him. Now, a 10 or 11, 12-year-old kid is not going to hurt an adult male. But when I hit him, it stunned him, and he just looked at me for, a few seconds, 5 or 6 seconds. And then he walked out the door, and that was the last time I saw him until I was playing Major League Baseball, and we had a road trip to Washington, and we were at a hotel, and somehow he found out I was there or whatever, and he called me up, wanted to see me, and out of curiosity, I said, okay. And he came into my room, and he wanted to borrow some money.
I knew that was coming. Coming. Well, that sealed the deal. It really did. And you know what, Hawk? It's been a wonderful career. You've had a wonderful ride. It's gone crazy. It's been a crazy career. Then you come back, you do some announcing with different things, game of the week and everything else. I'm just going off memory. And then you become the GM. And it's my contention. If it's 1995, 2000, 2005, I think it was more the timing. Sure, was there a bad deal? The Bonilla de Leon deal, I'm sure you weren't happy about. The La Russa thing blew up. But it's not like you didn't try and that you weren't trying to shake things up, which would have been a dormant type of franchise. Do you think if Reinsdorf hadn't been so young in the ownership phase, and let's say you'd owned the team 20, 25 years, because I noticed everybody in the organization gets longer now. Believe me, longer than some would like to see. Do you think it might have been a different story?
Mikey, when I look back on that 86 season, there is not anything. In fact, a few weeks ago, or last month, I had to go to Boston. They gave me this big award in the Boston Baseball Writers Center.
Sure.
And Dombrowski was there, and he was sitting behind me. So in the program there, they had a big picture of me, and then they had 3 or 4 paragraphs underneath. And the last paragraph, it said in there that when I was GM of the White Sox, I'd fired Tony La Russa and Dave Dombrowski. And I told him like that. I said, I wasn't going to go there in this talk tonight, this speech tonight. I said, but since it's in there, I'm going to address it. And I said, under the circumstances, knowing what I know now, Tony La Russa became one of the greatest managers in the history of the game. And Dombrowski has done some good things lately, Right. And I told him, I said, under the circumstances, I'd fire Tony again today, and Dombrowski's only sitting 15 feet from me. And I said, I'd fire Dombrowski again today.
Nice.
When I look back on that, when I look back on that year, it's something and I'm not going to get into the Bonilla thing and a couple of other deals, like with the Dave Stewart and a couple other guys I'm not going to mention. But I walked away from that situation knowing that I had done the right thing. Because I told Jerry and Eddie, we had lunch at the Ritz-Carlton there downtown Chicago, and I told them at lunch that day, I said, okay, look, now you're on a level playing field. Get somebody who's good in amateur scouting, go out and have a couple of good drafts, and by 1990, your club will be on a level with everybody in the major leagues. And if you go back and you check it, from 1990 to 1998, those 9 years, the only team that won more baseball games than the Chicago White Sox were the Atlanta Braves.
Right. Yeah, and Dave Dombrowski ended up going to Montreal. Now he's had a decent career too with Hawk Harrelson. Hawk, let's talk about the current club. Let's talk about the White Sox. Your love, no doubt about it. I mean, it's the franchise you have been the face of the franchise. I don't hear a lot of the people that are very good prognosticators about baseball teams predicting that the White Sox rebuild is going to work yet. In other words, even your partner Steve Stone. Stone, back in the day, if he'd see a bunch of guys young guys on a team, he'd say this is going to be a very, very good team. I've seen everybody holding back a little bit. Because we've heard about a lot of younger guys that were supposed to be all that, and because of injury and other issues, it hasn't happened. What are your concerns, and do you think that this rebuild's going to work?
I think I'm ecstatic about it, Mikey. This to me, in my whole career, and pretty soon I'll be in this game 60 years, and pretty soon on January 1st, 2020, I'll be in this game with only 4 of the guys. Vince Scully, Tommy Lasorda, Don Zimmer, and Dave Garcia. I'll be the fifth one to be in professional baseball, all the parts of 8 decades. So I've seen some of these rebuilds, okay, over the years. This is one of the best rebuilds I have ever seen, and I want to tell you why. We've got the right guys in place, okay? And everybody that thinks that Reinsdorf is cheap, they're full of shit. I'm telling you that right now. And this man, if the deal is right, he will go out and spend the money. They offered, actually, Machado more money than he's going to get from San Diego. But he's going to get it quicker from San Diego. And the thing about it is, you got Kenny, who I love, Kenny Williams. A lot of people, I get a lot of letters saying, well, what about Williams? What about Kenny Williams? Kenny Williams, to me, has been one of the great general managers in his time. And Rick Hahn.
Oh, my God, Hawk, please, dear Lord. You sound, I've known you for 30 years. I love you like a brother. I really do. Every year, this is the same speech. Every year.
Every year, it is.
Every day. And I know, this is why, and I brought this up last week about you. I said, there's no more loyal guy. Nobody. This guy's got to be on the plane with these guys. This guy, you know what? He loves these guys. He became a father figure to these guys. But I told Aldo, wait till he comes on next week. He'll be excited. He'll be ramped. Half the guys are battling injuries already. I hope Jimenez comes through. Moncada's a project. You act like, and then Kenny Williams has won one World Series, and you know it, Hawk. One World Series. He's a one-hit wonder. You remember, Incense and Peppermint, Strawberry Alarm Clock. We need more than one hit. So I just want you to explain why you think that. I really do.
This is why I love you, Mikey.
I'm just saying.
You know what? You and Jiggets, I used to love to listen to you and Jiggets. You guys.
Well, I love you, and I love the White Sox, but it's bewildering. Kenny Williams is the best this guy's the best that, and then I look at there's 62 wins. And I understand it's a rebuild. Do you think it's going to win?
Wait till the next 4 or 5 years play out. I said in 2020, I said it last year at Sox, it's not this year, last year. In 2020, this club's got a chance to be a monster. And I'll tell you one of the biggest reasons. One of the biggest reasons is Rick Renteria. And our club is finally tuned in. What?
Uncle Rick? You think
Rick
you don't
you
think the players like him? Okay.
We got two of the best managers in baseball in Chicago. And Rick Renteria and Joe Madden.
Sure.
I'm telling you what, these two guys can handle it. And all of a sudden, I read another story on my iPad this morning that the expression was, the way they framed it was, this is a make or break year for Madden with the Cubs. And that is so much bullshit, it's not even funny. That's not the game. I mean, he's what,
if Joe Madden is released by the Cubs in 5 minutes, he'll be snatched up. I mean, it's the biggest joke. It's a joke.
It's unbelievable, I'll tell you what. And Ricky is the perfect guy. Ricky is the perfect guy to handle our White Sox because, with the influx of Mikey, when you first came to Chicago, and I first came to Chicago, of course, you were born there. This is a different game today than when you and Diggs were on the air. And when I played and when I first started announcing, this is a different game today. This is an agent's game today. This is not an owner's game. This is an agent's game. The most powerful man in baseball today is not Rob Manfred. The most powerful man in baseball today is Scott Boras because of his stable, so to speak, of talent. You know what the combined salaries of Scott Boras' talent was last year? $2.3 billion.
Yeah.
Now that'll buy you a nice
I'm glad we didn't get Harper, Hawk.
home.
I'm glad we didn't get Harper, and I'm glad we didn't go after Machado. Stick with these young guys. Maybe another year, see what happens. I want to get some guys back from injury, and Kopech's got the problem with the wing, and but 5 years you're going to be 82, and I'm going to be 71 for God's sake. 4 or 5 years. I mean, let's get over here. Yeah, well, you know what? We are young at heart. I want to talk to you about the announcing and what finally. I know. Look, Scully, they had to throw out of the booth. I mean, and I think you were always torn. I think the last 4, 5, 6 years, was it just a grind finally? Because people forget you did the grind starting from the minor leagues and everything else, and the whole ball of wax. So we're not talking about just as an announcer. You were taking planes that probably you shouldn't have been taking, one propeller working and everything else back in the day, and you're lucky to make it. So was it the grind that finally you say, hey, enough's enough?
No. Well, I won't tell you this right now. I'm going to miss it. There's no question about that, because right now, as I'm talking to you,
right,
I'm having a Smirnoff and Schweppes Diet Tonic.
Attaboy.
And I am turning a lot of Smirnoff into urine. I got to find a routine. I got to find a routine.
You got to go to the potty. Do you have to go to the bathroom?
When I used to talk with you and Jiggs, when I'd go on the air with y'all, I was usually sitting on the throne.
With the magazine, for God's sake. Hey, before we let you go, I want to ask you about Chris Sale. I got so mad when I heard, and I think you even were involved in this, but maybe not. Didn't matter. It became a theme because a lot of the media now copies each other. We can't win with Sale. And it's my contention if Theo Epstein had taken over the White Sox, he's the last guy Sale would have traded. He would have built around him. He would have done what he had to do to go out and get, if he had the carte blanche like the Rickettses gave him. And it's sort of like, I thought when they got rid of Sale, it's like if the Cubs would have gotten rid of Kerry Wood. You know what I mean? So what's your take on that? Because Chris Sale went on to win a World Series. I think it's going to be a bad trade at the end for the White Sox, because unless one of them makes the Hall of Fame, it's going to be tough to beat out the Sale deal. But what was your take on that? And really, was it Sale that was stopping the White Sox from winning, maybe?
No, that's not. They framed it wrong, Mikey. They didn't frame it right. When that came out that we couldn't win with Chris Sale, and that was true, because with what we had going on in our organization at that, 2 years ago, there was no. I don't care if you won 25 games. We weren't going to win anything. And to go out and do what Kenny and Rick did to get what they got for Chris Sale was phenomenal. And then to go to Washington with Adam Eaton and get what they got for him was even more phenomenal. I have never seen in my whole career a better acquisition of talent for an organization who had absolutely almost zero.
You are the greatest ambassador. You are such a great ambassador for the White Sox. You always have been. I love you. Buddy, your career. How's Eris? How's she doing?
Eris is great, thank you.
Great.
She's my love. I love, I'll tell you what, she saved my life, because, when I retired from baseball, I was going into golf, and I had the talent, and I was failing, and that was what was so frustrating. So I was going out at night and getting drunk, getting in fights, and you do that long enough, you're going to run into the wrong guy, and you're going to get dead.
Oh, yeah.
So I met her, and all of a sudden I realized if I didn't stop all that stuff, then I was going to lose her. So I stopped, and that was 46 years.
That's a beautiful thing. Hawk, I love you. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for staying up, buddy. I have a good one. Get the golf game going. I want you to play golf. I want you to have fun. You're going to be missed. I'm sure you're going to be around the ballpark. You don't think they'll lock you? You think Stone and Benedetti, they'll lock you out of the booth, or can you walk in?
No. I tell you what, Jason's going to be great. He is. I'll tell you, he's good now. He's going to get better and better. He's going to be a great fan. Our White Sox fans are going to love Jason Benetti.
You know what? Everybody should have a friend like you. Hawk, we love you, buddy. Take good care.
Hey, Kate.
Oh, wait. Hold on for a minute, Hawk. Hold on. We got Aldo here. Aldo's got a couple questions and something from the chat room, right, Aldo? My bad. Go on,
if I could take another couple of minutes of Hawk's time. Just lots of great praise of you, Hawk Harrelson, in the chat room, where we've got dozens of people tuning in. And everybody wants to know about where you got these fabulous phrases in your broadcasting. Let me play a quick little clip.
That ball hit high and deep. Stretch. Get on back there. They look up. You can put it on the ball.
Yeah.
Yes.
So where did that come from, Hawk Harrelson? Did it just
came from golf. That actually came from golf. All these phrases, I used them when I played because, I was playing. They gave me an exemption to play in a PGA tournament in Pleasant Valley, in Sutton, Massachusetts. And a guy who owned the course in the tournament was a guy named Cuzzy Mangola, who I loved. He was such a wonderful person. And he calls me up and he says, "Look, Hawk, the ticket sales are really terrible." He says, "We need you to play." And I said, "Cuzzy hadn't been playing." So I said, "For you, I'll play." It was a hilly course, and you got to walk. Now I had to play a practice round. I had to play a pro-am. I walk in, and Eris was having to rub my legs down at night because they're cramping up on me. And I didn't do it. Hawk did it. I couldn't have done it. Hawk he went out and he shot 68 the first day, okay? Then the next day, I think we shot 69 or 70 or whatever it was. So we're only 4 or 5 shots off the lead. And then I birdied the third day. I birdied the about the 5th hole of the par 3. And that put me, I think, Lanny Watkins and Ray Floyd had me by 3 or 4 shots. And it was back in those days, the scoreboards were manual. They weren't, digital like they were today. So there was an old guy out there with a hat on, smoking a pipe, reading a book. And so as I knocked in about a 20-footer for birdie, and I'm walking off the green, he hadn't moved. And I looked at him, I said, "Put it on the board." So now, nice. where it says stretch, that came from putting, because every time I see him, I used to hit a putt, I'd say, "Stretch, stretch, stretch." Well, and where the yes came from was our daughter, Krista, who was a fantastic diver. She had an Olympic-style talent. And every time she'd go off that 10-meter board and hit a 2.5, 3.5, whatever it was, and she'd hit it, and I'm sitting there, you couldn't have pulled a grease tee out of my behind with a pair of pliers. And every time she'd hit it, I'm telling you what, I'd come up and I'd go, "Yes!" So all of a sudden, one day, somebody hit a home run, and I looked back and I, "Stretch, stretch, you can put it on the board, yes!" And that's where that came from.
That is great. And I'm assuming that this and a lot of other great stories are in your book, Hawk, I Did It My Way, which was released about a year ago now. How's the book doing? And do you have a favorite story from the book that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, the book, I guess, we got 5 stars from Google. We had 5 stars from Amazon. So, I guess it's, I didn't do that book for money. I did that book. And believe me, the original manuscript was different than what this book is, because I had more cuss words in there than you can imagine. So Eris, my beautiful Greek wife, she read the manuscript. She said, "Honey, no, that's not you." I let Krista, our daughter, "Dad, that's not you." I let Casey, our son, read it. "Dad, that's not you." So I had them take out every cuss word in that book. Good. But I'll tell you what. There's only one thing I left out of that book at the end. It should have been "to be continued."
Yeah, boy. And it will be continued. Hawk, appreciate it, buddy.
Anytime for you, Mikey. All right, Aldo, nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you.
Just be for me, buddy.
You got it.
All right, I will. Thanks, buddy. Go White Sox. That's Hawk Harrelson, ladies and gentlemen. Well, what do you think about that, Aldo? Not bad, huh?
History, and I mean,
I got to tell you something. I mean, I knew it. I didn't think how blatant he still is.
Yeah.
I didn't know how blatant he has become. Holy Toledo. He's got, I mean, it almost sounded, and I know Hawk's an honorable man, but it almost sounds like he's still on the
payroll. You're bad. You're so bad.
God bless him. Did you hear him?
Yes.
Eddie Williams is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I almost threw up in my mouth. Forget about it. Yeah, a great guest, and we appreciate Hawk. Hawk, what happened was, he's in Indiana. It's 8 o'clock.
Right.
Or what have you?
An hour ahead.
And he goes, "Why haven't you called me yet?" I go, "Oh my God, it's a time difference." You don't think about that when you talk about Indiana. But you know what? I mean, people. I want people to quit overreacting, Aldo, about the changing of the clocks like they were being sent to Vietnam in 1968. Holy Toledo. When we were kids, you just changed it, and that was it. You went on with your business. You lost an hour, you gained an hour. These people act like they're going to Colombia to go raid the cartel.
Well, and now we've got all this sunshine in the afternoon. It's fabulous. But I think that they should just leave it like this. I don't think we need to change it back and get an extra hour in the front. Just leave it this way. Don't you think, Mike?
leave it alone.
Yeah.
Just please, dear Lord, make a decision.
Yes, exactly.
Because the crying about it was unbelievable. What has happened? Oh, it's, you know what? What? I got to, well, nowadays, every appliance has a clock. I mean, we got about 15 different things we got to change,
Right.
and I got to believe a lot of people aren't any, I don't care, from the coffee pot to everything else. Hey, wasn't Hawk great, though?
Oh,
Wasn't
my
Hawk
gosh,
great?
just sensational. I mean, everybody in the chat room was just talking about, wow, this is great radio, and the chemistry between the two of you guys. Clearly, you guys have a friendship that lasts 30 years. And what when you would have him on the score, you said he was one of your top 5 guests. Is there any...
Oh, yeah, I had 5 guests. I was jotting down tonight before I came on. Yeah, I do a little show prep. I pick up a pen and write 5 names down. I'm exhausted. I want to take a break now. Ronick is just sensational. We're going to get him on down the line.
Oh, yeah.
Elton Brand,
Nice.
just a great guy.
He's a
is
general
now the
manager.
Philadelphia Sub. Is one of my good friends.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Smart guy.
Yeah, Elton Brand was great on the air. And then they took that guy, I forget who they took, Marcus Pfizer. I couldn't believe when the Bulls drafted that guy. I mean, they didn't just become stupid yesterday. They've been stupid for a long time. And then Chris Sorge, Stacey King, one of the great guests with me and Jigs. Loved being on with us. And then Hawk. Those were my top 5.
Did you have a special memory of any interview in the past that you did with Hawk? Because he said that he loved working with you and Jiggets, and I'm sure you guys ribbed the heck out of him back then because they were losing back then.
Well, he got it. You know, Hawk always got it. And listen, here's another thing about Hawk. He had a big TV show in Cleveland. We didn't even have a whole lot of time. When he was injured, they had a show called The Hawk's Nest. He was, I think, before LeBron and Bernie Kosar, one of the most popular athletes Cleveland's ever had. Bob Feller. I mean, he had a TV show that was great. He was a golfer. He had the Nehru jackets. But I'm going to tell you something. He hasn't changed one bit. He's given me the line about the White Sox. The Kenny Williams thing almost knocked me off my chair. I mean, you kidding? Hawk sometimes goes a little bit too far. The Kenny Williams is as good as you've ever seen line almost knocked me off my chair. I couldn't believe it. But at least I tell him. See, that's what happens. See, Hawk comes from street fighting like I did, and you just talk normally like that. I mean, you challenge the guy, but see, I learned one thing. I used to try to keep coming at them. Once you're not going to change their mind. You bring it up, say I think it's a dumb statement. Hawk, what's wrong with you? But then when he brings it up again, but he never really gives a good explanation. And I brought up the reasons why Kenny Williams is horrible. So that's all you can do.
Right. Well, and I think that, Kenny Williams, by all accounts, is a great person. And I think that might cloud Hawk's opinion about his baseball decision-making, which are two separate things, right?
I'm not a big fan of Kenny Williams as a person either, but that's fine. I understand. No, I understand Hawk is, and I understand he works in the organization.
Right.
But, Kenny Williams has had some issues too, I mean, his best buddy robbed the Sox international farm system. I mean, but the guy went to jail, hopefully. But Kenny never felt anything from that. It takes a very understanding owner to let something like that slide. You know what I mean, Aldo?
Sure, absolutely.
You're not responsible. You can only do, and I think Jerry was right in what he did for Kenny, because Kenny never, I don't think, knew about it. But a lot of owners, I mean, there's owners like the Knicks owner, if a guy says sell the team, he wants to ban him for life. So you know how owners can be, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And you've had it out with just about every owner in Chicago sports. I
had it out with Kenny. I've had it out with Kenny Williams. I've had it out with Brooks Boyer. I had it out with Rob Gallas. I've had it out with Jerry Wright. The White Sox, listen, the White Sox organization is still got the same guys it had 25, 30 years ago. Not big fans, and I understand that. But Jerry and I got along, so that's fine.
All right.
But Hawk gets it, see? Hawk gets it. You said, you come at him, but he comes right back at you.
He
and
sure
he's
does.
not going to back down.
He sure does. All right, let's talk a little football because it's been a very busy day in the NFL. And, in fact, we're just getting word that the longtime Chicago Bears special teams ace and wide receiver Josh Bellamy is leaving the Bears to the New York Jets. We wish him well. Bellamy went through a few years here, Mike, where he couldn't catch a beach ball, but under Matt Nagy, he started to play well. You think, how badly is he going to be missed?
Well, I think he's a guy that once he's gone, you won't remember him. I really do. I think that the Bears are going to be okay with the loss of Josh Bellamy. Kevin White's still going to be on the team, apparently. I mean, I'm just trying to figure that whole thing. I mean,
he's gone.
Josh, everybody's leaving except him. He's going to be the last guy to shut off the lights and shut the door, apparently. I just had to bring that up because I see other receivers leaving.
No, he'll
I
be
think
gone.
Callahan might be. People are predicting Callahan might be going.
Yes.
Because who'd we bet aside Buster Screens?
Buster Screens.
He's not that good. I bet games he's involved in. He lets him catch the short pass. If he's going to get beat, he'll have pass interferences on him. Doesn't get called for a lot of pass interferences. Gets called for holding, defensive holding. There's a difference, but it's still a penalty, and it gives you an automatic first down. I myself am shocked. Bryce Callahan's had 4 interceptions his last 2 years. This guy we got has had a very tough time with interceptions of late. I think the most he's ever had in the season is 4. So that one sort of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, with the tough cap situation that the Chicago Bears are in, clearly they weren't going to be able to re-sign, some of the big names like Bryce Callahan, who's anticipated to be the top slot corner going in this free agency. But
I'm sorry to see him go. I liked him.
Yeah, he's just entering his prime. The biggest.
I like him. I don't want to lose him.
Yeah, but it looks like he's going to go elsewhere because he's going to make a boatload of money. Now, we talked about Buster Skrine. I do have a little clip of him because I did some research on him, and the guy. I'll tell you what.
Nobody out-researches Aldo Gandia.
I can't.
Nobody.
I'm not going to make any promises about how well he's going to play for the Bears, but one thing is certain. This guy gives a hell of a lot to the community. He's got a foundation. He spends a lot of time with kids, and he was asked in an interview, how does he make time? And this is what he said.
You have to make time for it. I mean, you can go home after practice or during the off-season, play video games or go out and party, but you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, like, am I really bettering myself or bettering the people around me doing that? So I feel like when I wake up every morning, I enjoy, giving back, helping, and creating certain things.
Gotta love that attitude, right, Mike?
Yeah, look what it did for Robbie Gould. Oh, sorry.
Cody Parkey, too.
We're going to go to charity route, right? You think that's going to get me to sway one way or the other? Let me tell you something. If he gives up the winning touchdown in a playoff game, I'm not going to be yelling, but he gives to charity. He gives to charity. I don't want to hear it.
You are priceless.
You know what I mean? Just intercept the pass, and then I'll go, hey, that guy gives to charity.
Well,
come on.
The hope is that with the other great Bears defenders on his team, that his play is going to improve. I think that's what the gamble is.
Well, he
here.
was with Cleveland and the Jets.
Yeah, those are the worst.
That's not exactly, that's like going to the steak joint and looking and getting ground chuck. I mean, you don't get the prime rib. He's going to be with a good ball club, going to be with some good people, going to be with Pagano. It's going to be fine. You know what? I'm not going to sweat over it, but I liked Callahan. Yeah. I really did.
No doubt about it. Now, they added running back Mike Davis, who was the second stringer with the Seattle Seahawks. In the one game that he started because of injury to the starter, he had a 101-yard day game, 2 touchdown performance. He really improved he's entering his 5th season. I don't think he's going to be a starter for the Chicago Bears. I think he's going to be a complimentary back, and maybe the Bears are going to keep Jordan Howard, and they'll have Jordan Howard, Mike Davis, and Tariq Cohen in the backfield. That wouldn't be bad, right?
Well, I'm not worried about Davis. You know what? I hope if he makes the team, fine. I don't think he's going to be relevant. If he was going to be all that, the team might not have wanted to get rid of him. That we ended up getting him from.
Seahawks.
I want to find out what happens with Jordan Howard. I think that's the big question mark that's going to be Bear fans are going to be wondering about during the offseason, Aldo. I really do. Does he fit the offense? I hear this, that a lot of people, like a lot of teams, if he's let go, are interested.
Yep.
Interested.
Oh, yeah.
So the Bears know they got a stud. Maybe, it was one of those years. I do know this. You won't find a better 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 bat in the game. I said that with the Mike North advantage during the season. The Bears won a lot of games on converted first downs that they used to not make. There's a lot of teams that separates the men from the boys in this league. The teams that don't make the 3rd and 3s, the 3rd and 2s, the 3rd and 1s, they don't win. It's the teams that make those. And Jordan Howard is as good as anybody in the game. And I said he converted more first downs, I thought, than a lot of guys in the league.
Yeah. Now, I got to ask you about the other free agent whose future with the Bears does not look really good right now. Adrian Amos, the safety. I bring him up every show.
Well, I don't know if you put on lipstick tonight, getting ready to talk about your guy. I don't know if you got into the mascara, the wife's drawer. I don't know what you did. I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to know about your private life, okay, with Adrian Amos. No, look, I'm sorry to see Callahan go and Adrian Amos, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing aggravates a fan base more than getting attached to certain players. And I did a little bit with Callahan. We never talked about him all that much. That was the good thing. When do you talk about defensive backs usually?
Yeah.
When they get burned.
Exactly.
Like the guy we're getting, by the way. Like the guy we're getting. Look, he's got fingerprints on guys' jerseys that aren't his own before they catch the passes. So, you know what? I think he's going to be a nickel guy. I think he's going to be a nickel guy, and for that, he'll be a good pickup.
Okay. Now, how did you do in your picks on your debut show on ESPN?
2-0.
2-0. Oh,
I went with
nice.
this. I go well, first of all, I went down there on Friday. And I come in. They had a pizza party for me.
Oh, cool.
And B, they had the whole sales staff come. And they had, Yurko came up, great guy, said hi, Waddle, Sylvie. They were on the air, but they waved from, that we saw them. Adam Delavan, great guy. Jimmy Pastor, Jeff Schwartz came in from California,
awesome.
BB, and we went over there and went on the air, and they liked it. They loved it from all accounts, from what I'm hearing, and they did very well, and they're looking forward to this Friday show. I went 2-0. Now, what happens is, we pick a game that we counter each other. And he took the Clippers, and I took whoever they were playing. I forget. The Clippers ended up winning, but you get a half a point for that. You picked your two major picks. He went 1-1. I guess the one game he lost was the Hawks under, the Blackhawks under. But Carmen and I started out of the gate really strong.
Excellent.
So it was a lot of pressure on me because the one thing I didn't want to do, Aldo, no matter how good the show was go 0-2.
Absolutely.
On my main pick.
Yeah, that's no way to
I
make
didn't
a
want to
debut.
do that. I don't want to. Now, if I go 0-2, okay, at least I got something on the board.
Absolutely.
I got some wins on the board, just like I did with Bears Barroom. I want to get off to a good start.
18-1 at Bears Barroom.
Well, that's what got me the gig. It really, at the end of the day, got me the gig because
it's amazing.
But also what I could do on the air. They listen, they hear. And they knew I knew what I was doing, and they know I know my gambling. I'm going to be breaking it down. I mean, we started this with Bears Barroom, and now everybody's going to be picking it up, so we'll see what happens.
I am very proud of you. Your debut show
buddy.
on ESPN, The Odds Couple. It's on ESPN, 6 p.m. Central Time. You can catch it on the web. You can catch it over the airwaves. Make sure you listen because Mike will make you some money. And
I'll try to win every game, man. I bet the picks. I bet my own picks. So I'm doing well, but, I mean, I want you to know that. Like, I lost the Cincinnati game last night. I went 1-1 on Barroom Friday, so I'm 8-4 there. I've had a sensational run.
You really
and I'm
have.
not going to – I'm 170 games over 500 over at Vegas scores on odds. I've had it – like Carmen said, that's an unbelievable run to be on.
That big hug that I gave you when we first met, I rubbed off all my good luck on you. That's what it is.
You got plenty of great luck.
Yes, indeed.
We're gonna do some things. Me and you got to do some talking anyway. Oh, I think we should probably, were we going to move the show to Sunday? We're going to keep it on Friday?
No,
I don't care either way.
Let's move the baby. Sunday
Move
mornings.
it to Sunday morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything at 8 in the morning. It's good. We'll have more games to go off of.
People want
Absolutely.
People want to go to church on Sunday, having knowledge of where they're going to be placing their money after
Believe
the
me,
mass.
the podcast will be up by 9:30.
There you go.
9:30, because Aldo does a great job, and there's a ton of big games coming up. We got the conference championships and everything, guys.
Excellent. Mike North,
Yep.
the closing music is playing.
Yeah, baby.
History.
Great job. Thanks to Hawk Harrelson. Thanks to Verdoliak Law Group. Thanks to Tick Splits. Everybody else. Aldo, good time as always. Thanks to everybody at the Bears Bar Room. But Hawk Harrelson comes through big. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.